The Carrick Neill Scottish Open Amateur Stroke Play Championship came to Blaigowrie for 2011 and played over one of James Braid's most picturesque creations, the Lansdowne Course. The field had a very international feel about it, players coming from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and of course many of the players hoping to get a spot in this year's Walker Cup, coming from all over Great Britain and Ireland. A very prestigious trophy this. Previous winners have been Colin Montgomery, Bernard Gallagher, and more recently Richie Ramsey. Someone who this man knows very well from the international amateur scene, course record holder here at Blaigowrie and local resident, Glenn Campbell. He'd had a very steady start over the first 2 days and was in contention as he teed off for the morning round. This was Stephen Brown, young Englishman based at Wentworth. He too had had an impressive opening 2 days and was out in the second last group. Both players at 4 under par, which was 3 behind the man who had come all the way from Brisbane, Australia, Daniel Nesbitt. He was at 7 under par in second place, trailing by 1 shot. The man who was in lead after 2 rounds at the halfway stage, Andrew Sullivan from Nuneaton, currently England's highest ranked player in the World Amateur Rankings and looking to secure his spot in the Walker Cup team. A young Scot who'd fared well in the first day in the first round, young Grant Forrest. He'd a 69, and although his challenge faded, it'll be encouraging for him to know that he could compete at the very highest level. Another man in the mix, Scotland's Paul Shields, recent finalist in the South African Amateur Championship. Here on the 8th in the 3rd round, going along nicely at 2 under par. Out in the group behind, Welshman Rhys Enoch, who'd gone on a birdie blitz at the end of round 2 and the start of round 3. And he was currently sitting at 5 under par and a real threat, playing alongside Scotland's Chris Nicol, who was at 4 under par, which is where he stayed after this nice little up and down at the 8th. But as the day progressed, Chris began to struggle a little bit. Perhaps the conditions had something to do with it. That was the 8th, and unbelievably, this is the very next hole. And between the wind and the rain, there was spells of sunshine, but the weather didn't stay steady, and unfortunately neither did Chris's game. He faded badly in the last 2 rounds and finished well down the field, but still played a lot of nice golf, and hopefully maybe catching the eye of Nigel Edwards there on the left, captain for the Walker Cup up in Royal Aberdeen this year. Another man looking to make that squad and recent winner of the Lytham Trophy, Jack Senior, here on the 15th. And as we see him, he is 3 under par and very well poised in the 3rd round, moving up the leaderboard well. His playing partner was Daniel Young, here also 3 under at the time, although he was 2 putts for there for a double bogey 6. But a nice tournament from Daniel, and he ended up in 4th place. Back with a local man, Glenn Campbell, and you can see just how much wind there was. It was really picking up at this part of the day. And this par 3 9th only just over 150 yards long, but there weren't many of the players that managed to hit the green. The wind swirling round, and after 42 holes, well, there was our leader, Andrew Sullivan, still out in front, and he too missed the green here on 9th, but a nice up and down from the bunker, and he was going along very steadily. But back on the 15th, and the wind really taking its toll, Jack Senior here standing over a birdie putt. Well, if he could sink that, he would move to 4 under and a tie for 2nd place. But let alone getting the putt away, him and Daniel Young struggling to even stand up or keep their hats on. We can move up and see the trees. Well, most of them survived, I think. But eventually, when it calmed down just a touch, Jack rolled in a very nice putt, and he did move to 4 under par. And at this point was looking very good. But the man who enjoyed the most success in the third round was Gilliam Robertson, a student at Stirling University, and he had that putt for a par on the last and a 67, but as it was, he tapped that in for a -468 to be -4 for the tournament. And as Andrew Sullivan's game stuttered a little, that was good enough for a one-shot lead with 1 round to go. 4 players were tied in second place, 1 shot back, one of them being Jack Senior. And here rolling in a magnificent putt for a birdie 4 on the 8th, but at this point he was already 5 over for this afternoon's round. And it wasn't to be. Jack ending up in a tie for 7th. Well, Gilliam Robertson, what could he do with that lead? He'd missed the green here in 3. At the 8th, a par 5, but a beautiful up and down. But unfortunately a 9 at the 6th had put paid to his chances of victory in the tournament. Andrew Sullivan had a 77 in the morning's round to bring him back into the pack. And as he comes up here on the 6th, well, he'd managed to get another shot back to be 4 under for the tournament and in a share for the lead. And that was a nice approach here on the 6th. Daniel Nesbitt playing alongside him. Well, his approach wasn't quite so nice, but he made up for it with a lovely chip from the side. And he was 2 under for the 4th round, making him 4 under for the tournament. Stephen Brown had been very steady through his previous 3 rounds, and that was the case again here in the final round. Rolling up a nice putt here at the 8th, which he tapped in, and he was also at 4 under par for the tournament, and things getting very tight at the top of the leaderboard. Well, again, Daniel Nesbitt was off to the left as he came up the 8th, but look at this for a little approach off the tracks from the buggy path, and although he popped that in for a birdie to go 5 under, after that Daniel faded a little unfortunately and ended up 1 over for the tournament and a tie for 5th. By the time Paul Shields had reached the 16th green, he had this birdie putt to go 4 under to take a 1-stroke lead in the tournament. He just pulled that a little to the left, and although there are opportunities over the last few holes, he'd have been hoping level par or maybe 1 or 2 birdies would be good enough to perhaps get him the victory. His playing partner here was Mark Bookless, who finished on a 3 over par total to be tied for 7th. His challenge fading a little bit in the 3rd round where he shot a 77, but still a nice top 10 finish for the man from Sandy Hills. And as some interested onlookers walked down with his game on 17, Paul again had a birdie chance, and again just rolling it past the hole on the left, and perhaps chances beginning to run out. After hitting an excellent tee shot here in 17, Paul would have been hoping for at least a birdie, and maybe he knew his challenge might well have been over. And on the last, well, he pulled his drive, and that left him here after 3, needing this for his par to post a leading clubhouse total of 3 under par. And another very impressive performance from Paul Shields this season after having some great success down in South Africa. Well, he missed and he popped that in. He was leading the clubhouse at 2 under, but at the end of the day that was only good enough for 3rd spot. And a few of the locals coming out to see their man Glenn Campbell finish off. And as was the case in more than a few greens today, the long putt just not dropping. And a good performance from Glenn, but well, he knows he's capable of better round here, especially when you hold the course record at 64. But he finished the week 1 over par and a tie for 5th. Now as Stephen Brown came down the last, with the cameras out and the photographer out, he must have known, well, he'd a very good chance of winning this tournament. The last leaderboard he would have seen would have shown him with a 3-shot cushion over both Paul Shields in the clubhouse and Andrew Sullivan out behind him. It was a very bold approach, certainly not holding back, protecting anything. He would have liked to have finished with a birdie, but that approach just rolling up to the back of the green. His playing partner, Jonathan Watt, hadn't enjoyed a good day and was now 6 over par. Although decided to finish in style in front of the crowds. What a magnificent approach shot. He rolled that in for a birdie to finish at 5 over in 16th spot. Now Kenny Smith there with the camera firmly trained onto Stephen Brown. The Scot based at Wentworth must have thought a little up and down here, and there's a good chance that would be good enough for victory. But over his shoulder, well, he had no idea of the drama going on behind him. Andrew Sullivan had birdied 16 and eagled 17 to draw him level with Stephen Brown. Unaware, Stephen rolled in his putt to finish at 5 under, a magnificent total, and all he could do now was sit back, wait and watch. It must have been quite a surprise to him to find out Andrew's score over the last couple of holes, but even then, still tied at 5 under, he must have thought he had a good chance of at least a playoff. But Andrew Sullivan is a real quality player. With the tournament on the line, he stood up with his 7-iron and knocked his approach into 3 feet. A truly remarkable shot, especially coming off the back of a birdie and an eagle at the previous 2 holes. His playing partner, who had started off the day just 1 behind him, Daniel Nesbitt, well, he played a lovely chip there on the last, and had that gone in, for his birdie, he would have finished at level par in a tie for 4th. But as it was, he just knocked in that putt, tied for 5th at 1 over, and a good week's work for the Australian before moving on to the Links Trophy up at St Andrews. But this was the putt that Sullivan had to be 6 under for the tournament and the victory, and 4 under for the last 3 holes. An absolutely stunning finish to a wonderful tournament. And after some warm congratulations, we caught up with Andrew to ask how it felt to be the new Carrick Neill Scottish Open Amateur Stroke Play Champion.
Fantastic. I mean, my heart's just about to come out of my chest, I think, with that finish. And yeah, it was it was weird because I was leading the first 2 rounds and I played so well, and then let it slip and I was behind, and couldn't really describe it in words at the moment. It's just all mixed emotions. I ain't had time to reflect and stuff, but it's unbelievable at the moment.
And after his form this year, was it a tournament he thought he could win?
I've been playing really well, but like I say, last couple of weeks I haven't been in contention. I've just been finishing. It was a top 10 at best sort of thing. So, but I'm coming from the outset to try and get myself in contention this week, and I've done it, and luckily I got the job finished at the end. So.
And looking to the future, he must fancy his chances of making that Walker Cup team now up in Royal Aberdeen.
Hopefully, I mean, just got to keep doing what I'm doing. Hopefully get a couple more wins or 1 more win, and leave it up to Nige to sort the team out for himself. You know what I mean? All he can do is keep playing well and hope he picks you. So.
Congratulations on a marvellous victory, Andrew.